Being too nice will kill your success. By Jim Rohn. Introduction. His timeless teachings emphasize that success is less about external circumstances and more about the inner qualities we cultivate: discipline, clarity of purpose, and the judicious exercise of character traits such as kindness and assertiveness. Among his multifaceted lessons, one counterintuitive but profoundly insightful principle stands out: being too nice can actually kill your success. In essence, Rohn warns that unguarded niceness, coupled from clear boundaries and personal accountability, risks undercutting the very goals we aim to achieve. In today's hyper-connected world, the ideal of niceness often carries an unquestioned positive connotation. We are encouraged to be agreeable, helpful, and ever attentive to others' needs. Yet Jim Rohn's wisdom challenges this default assumption, urging us to distinguish true kindness, which he champions, from mere niceness that can devolve into weakness and indecision. This text will explore Rohn's perspective on why excessive niceness impedes progress, examine the psychological and organizational dynamics at play, and offer practical strategies for balancing compassion with strength. Jim Rohn's core beliefs on character and success. At the heart of Jim Rohn's teaching lies the conviction that your personal philosophy determines the quality of your life. In his words, success is not something you chase, something you attract by the person you become. For Rohn, every external result, wealth, influence, relationships, reflects an internal state shaped by habits, decisions, and mindset. He delineates the pains we all encounter: the pain of discipline versus the pain of regret, each weighing differently but inevitably guiding our trajectory. Within this framework, the niceness trap emerges when individuals avoid short-term discomfort, like asserting a boundary or saying no. It's only to incur far greater long-term regret for missed opportunities and diluted personal effectiveness. Rohn's famous leadership axiom encapsulates this balance. The challenge of leadership is to be strong, but not rude. Be kind, but not weak. Be bold, but not a bully. Be thoughtful, but not lazy. Be humble, but not timid. Be proud, but not arrogant. Have humor, but without folly. Here he identifies kindness as distinct from weakness, a critical nuance often lost in cultural narratives that equate niceness with virtue. His message: true success demands that we adopt a posture of generosity paired with clarity about our own needs and limits. Understanding the cost of excessive niceness, many well-intentioned individuals fall prey to people-pleasing, prioritizing others' comfort over their own goals and aspirations. Psychologists note that chronic people-pleasers suffer from heightened anxiety, decision paralysis, and burnout, as they continually suppress their own needs to avoid conflict or disapproval in the workplace. This manifests as taking on extra tasks for favor, failing to set clear expectations, and ultimately having one's contributions go unrecognized. Erasures that impede career progression and erode self-efficacy. Beyond professional contexts, excessive niceness can infiltrate personal relationships, leading to resentment when unvoiced boundaries are crossed. Studies show that individuals who habitually say yes to every request report greater stress levels and diminish self-respect over time. Paradoxically, the very trait of agreeableness, when taken to extremes, undermines authentic connection. Others perceive it as inauthentic or manipulative, eroding trust rather than building it. Thus, what begins as a desire to be helpful morphs into a pattern that damages both self and social capital. Pitfall 1. Slowed progress. Through excessive kindness. In one of his motivational talks, Rohn highlights how excessive kindness without boundaries can decelerate our journey toward goals. When we overextend our time and resources to accommodate everyone's needs, we dilute our focus and squander energy that could be invested in priority tasks. Time, an irreplaceable asset, is diverted into peripheral activities, leaving core objectives neglected. Research on productivity corroborates this. High performers allocate their efforts strategically, learning to delegate, or decline requests that do not align with their primary mission. By contrast, people pleasers end up running on a treadmill of small favors, incremental tasks, and constant interruptions, which cumulatively exhaust mental bandwidth and disrupt the rhythm needed for deep work. The result is a creeping inefficiency that quiets ambition and stalls momentum. Pitfall 2. Missed opportunities from people-pleasing. Closely related to slowed progress is the phenomenon of missed opportunities. When we habitually acquiesce, unconsciously communicate lower self-worth, leading others to undervalue our contributions and bypass us for promotions, partnerships, or high-stakes projects. In essence, and we become invisible or expendable in contexts that call for assertive leadership. Forbes contributor Joe Folkman underscores that kindness must be paired with accountability to produce effective leadership. Pure kindness, he argues, left untempered by clear standards, fosters entitlement and diminishes respect for both the giver and the receiver. Without the courage to set and enforce boundaries, we miss critical junctures where decisive action could elevate our profile and accelerate our trajectory. Cases abound of entrepreneurs who were passed over in boardrooms or pitch meetings because their deferential demeanor masked an unwillingness to assert strong convictions. The lesson: to attract opportunity, one must demonstrate that they value their own time and expertise as much as they value relationships. Pitfall 3. Erosion of authority through weak boundaries. Rohn cautions that niceness without boundaries is a form of weakness, as it invites exploitation by those who seek to capitalize on generosity. In organizational cultures, leaders who fail to articulate non-negotiables find that team members gradually test limits. Late deliveries become the norm, performance standards slip, and respect for organizational values erodes. Next elements. Concept of compassionate accountability provides a blueprint by coupling clear expectations with empathetic communication. Leaders preserve both the dignity of individuals and the health of the system. Laura Cole's reflection that lack of boundaries deprives others of a healthier way to interact with us and form meaningful relationships crystallizes why defensive niceness begets dysfunction.
Ultimately,
authority springs not from coercion, but from the consistent enforcement of mutually understood agreements. Pitfall 4. Indecision and sabotaged success. A hallmark of excessive niceness is indecision, the inability to choose for fear of upsetting someone. Scholars link this paralysis to procrastination and analysis paralysis, where the endless weighing of others' preferences stalls decisive action. Rohn himself observed that either you run the day or the day runs you, highlighting the imperative of conscious choice over reactive accommodation in leadership contexts. Indecision undermines credibility. Teams look to leaders for direction, and hesitation signals a lack of conviction that can breed doubt and confusion. Moreover, at an individual level, chronic indecision erects internal barriers. Every deferred choice entrenches self-doubt, making subsequent decisions even harder and compounding the cycle of inaction. Pitfall 5. Avoidance of accountability undermines growth. Finally, shying away from accountability is perhaps the most corrosive outcome of misplaced niceness. When we are too nice, we avoid difficult conversations about performance unmet, deadlines, or corrective feedback for fear of being labeled harsh or unkind. This tolerance of mediocrity stunts both personal and organizational development. The cornerstone text. The Oz principle defines accountability as a personal choice to rise above one's circumstances and demonstrate the ownership necessary for achieving desired results. Rohn's message aligns. True kindness sometimes involves holding ourselves and others to exacting standards.
knowing that growth often demands discomfort.
Leaders who master compassionate accountability cultivate
high-performing teams that respect
boundaries and pursue excellence in unison. Jim Rohn's personal reflections on being kind but not weak throughout his seminars. Rohn frequently reiterated that the measure of true kindness lies in its sustainability and mutual enrichment, not in relentless self-sacrifice. He contrasted fleeting niceness, which often springs from insecurity, with generosity born of abundance and self-assuredness. In 7 Strategies for Wealth and Happiness, he writes, Give more in value than you take in payment. This principle undergirds a healthy transactional ecology. We offer help where it aligns with our capabilities and values, and we refuse it when it conflicts with our core objectives. By doing so, we preserve our ability to give authentically and avoid the burnout that afflicts those who give out of obligation rather than choice, balancing kindness and strength. So, how do we reconcile Ron's call for assertiveness with his equally fervent endorsement of empathy? The answer lies in mindful boundary setting, being explicit about one's availability, priorities, and the parameters within which one operates. As Dr. Nate Regier explains, compassionate accountability is the process of setting boundaries and strengthening relationships at the same time, an approach that allows kindness to flourish alongside structure. Practically, this means defining non-negotiables, for example, work hours, core deliverables, communicating them clearly to stakeholders, clients, colleagues, friends, so expectations align. Enforcing consequences when boundaries are crossed, not as punitive measures, but as affirmations of mutual respect, by coupling kindness with accountability. We create a feedback loop where generosity is appreciated rather than exploited, and both parties gain clarity on how to collaborate effectively. Practical strategies to avoid the niceness trap. Drawing on Ron's teachings and contemporary research, here are concrete steps to ensure kindness empowers rather than impedes your success. Audit your commitments. Regularly review ongoing obligations. Eliminate or delegate tasks that no longer align with your goals. Practice decisive no. Experiment with declining non-essential requests for a week, as documented in a very well-mined case study, which found participants reported increased self-respect and clarity after setting boundaries. Establish feedback rituals. Schedule periodic check-ins with peers or mentors to exchange candid feedback, reinforcing mutual accountability. Use assertive communication. Employ I statements. I can commit X, but not Y, to express limits without hostility, a technique proven to reduce interpersonal friction. Cultivate an accountability partner with someone who will challenge you to honor your commitments and respect your own boundaries. Leveraging the power of external support, implementing these practices transforms kindness from a passive trait into an active force that accelerates both personal and collective success. Case studies. When niceness undermines success, consider the story of a mid-level manager, Alice, who consistently agreed 2 extra projects to avoid disappointing her boss. Over time, her core responsibilities suffered, and she was bypassed for a promotion in favor of a peer who had learned to delegate effectively and assert workload limits. Alice's initial impulse to please inadvertently signaled a lack of strategic focus, causing leadership to question her readiness for higher roles. Similarly, startup founders who welcome every investor request without scrutinizing fit often dilute their vision and relinquish equity too early. Decisions rooted not in strategy, but in eagerness to avoid disappointing stakeholders. By contrast, founders who develop clear pitch boundaries attract investors aligned with their values, enabling faster, more sustainable growth. Conclusion: Jim Rohn's candid admonition that being too nice will kill your success serves as a powerful reminder that kindness, when untethered from boundaries and accountability, risks becoming a liability rather than an asset. Through his decades of teaching, Rohn urges us to cultivate purposeful generosity, one that empowers others while safeguarding our ability to pursue meaningful goals. By understanding the psychological pitfalls of excessive niceness, slowed progress, missed opportunities, erosion of authority, indecision, and avoidance of accountability. And by adopting strategies such as decisive boundary setting, compassionate accountability, and the enlistment of accountability partners, we can transform kindness into a catalyst for lasting success. As Rohn famously taught, success is attracted by the person you become. Let that person be both compassionate and resolute.